The flames roared before anyone saw them, a hungry beast swallowing the house on Maple Street, while the town slept. But someone was awake. In the alley behind the diner, where shadows clung to cardboard and old blankets, a man stirred. They called him Drifter, a name spat with disdain, his weathered face hidden under a tattered hood. Nobody knew his story, and nobody cared. To Fairview, he was just another vagrant, a stain on their tidy streets. Yet tonight, as smoke curled into the starry sky, Drifter's eyes caught the glow across the block. He moved, not with the shuffle of a broken man, but with purpose, his boots pounding gravel like a soldier charging a hill. The town would talk about this night for years, but not yet. First, they'd misjudge him, as they always had. Fairview, Ohio, was a place of picket fences and Sunday potlucks, where strangers stuck out like weeds. Drifter had appeared 2 years ago, a silent figure haunting alleys and park benches. His clothes were patched, his beard unkempt, his hands scarred. Kids threw stones, shopkeepers shooed him, and mothers clutched their purses when he passed. "Get a job," they'd mutter, assuming he chose this life. He never begged, never spoke, just watched the world with eyes that seemed to carry too much. Some said he was dangerous, others, just lazy. The truth was buried deeper, but Fairview wasn't digging. The diner's backlit was his usual haunt, where he'd sift through scraps or sleep under a tarp. Tonight, though, the air smelled wrong, acrid, sharp. Drifter's gaze snapped to the horizon, where flames licked the night. The Carter house, a 2-story clapboard home, was ablaze. He dropped his tin mug, the clang lost in the distant crackle of fire. Without a word, he ran, his limp barely slowing him. The street was quiet, the town oblivious, but Drifter knew time was short. He'd seen fire before, felt its hunger. The Carters, Tom, Ellen, and their 2 kids, were inside, likely asleep, unaware of the inferno creeping closer. Drifter reached the house, smoke billowing from the lower windows. The front door was locked, the heat already searing. He circled to the back, finding a window ajar. His hands, rough as sandpaper, gripped the frame, prying it open. Smoke poured out, stinging his eyes, but he climbed through, disappearing into the haze. Inside, the heat was a living thing, pressing against him. He crouched low, moving through the living room, where flames danced across curtains. The stairs creaked under his weight as he climbed, coughing but undeterred. The Carter's bedroom was upstairs, the kids' room next to it. He had to find them. Fairview slept on, blind to the man they scorned, risking everything. Drifter's past was a locked box, but his instincts screamed of training, of moments when hesitation meant death. He didn't pause to wonder why he cared. The family needed him, and that was enough. On the second floor, smoke thickened, black and choking. He pressed a rag to his face, his eyes scanning for signs of life. The fire's roar was deafening, but he heard a faint cry, Lily, the Carter's 6-year-old. Drifter followed the sound, kicking open a door. Lily huddled in her bed, eyes wide with terror. He scooped her up, her small frame trembling against his chest. "Hold on," he rasped, his voice gravelly from disuse. He turned, searching for the others, knowing the clock was ticking. The fire was spreading, the ceiling groaning above. Drifter moved faster, his limp forgotten, driven by a force he hadn't tapped in years. Fairview would wake soon, sirens would wail, but for now, it was just him against the flames. The town that despised him would never guess what he was about to do, nor the man he truly was. But tonight, Drifter wasn't invisible. Tonight, he was their only hope. Drifter clutched Lily tightly, her sobs muffled against his soot-streaked jacket. The Carter house was a furnace, flames clawing up walls, smoke coiling like a serpent. He navigated the hallway, eyes stinging, heart pounding with a rhythm he hadn't felt since another life. Lily's brother, Ethan, was still in his room, and their parents were somewhere beyond. Drifter's mind raced, mapping the house from glimpses he'd caught while passing by. He'd never been inside, but he'd watched Fairview enough to know its patterns. The fire was fiercest downstairs, blocking the main exit. The back stairs might still be clear, but time was bleeding away. He kicked open Ethan's door, finding the 10-year-old curled on the floor, coughing violently. "Come on, kid," Drifter growled, hoisting Ethan over his shoulder. The boy was limp, dazed by smoke, but alive. Drifter's arms burned with the weight of both children, yet he moved with a strength that belied his gaunt frame. The ceiling creaked, embers raining down. He shielded the kids, his jacket singeing. The parents' room was next, the door half open, flames licking its frame. Drifter set Lily down, pressing her against the wall. "Stay low," he ordered, his voice cutting through her panic. She nodded, clutching his sleeve. He crawled into the master bedroom, where Tom and Ellen Carter lay unconscious, overcome by smoke. The bed was an island in a sea of fire, the window behind it shattered by heat. Drifter dragged Tom first, his muscles screaming as he pulled the man to the hallway. Ellen was lighter but no easier, her nightgown catching on debris. He hauled her beside Tom, checking pulses, weak but there. The family was together, but the house was collapsing. Drifter's eyes darted to the back stairs, visible through the smoke. Flames hadn't reached them yet, but the path was narrowing. He lifted Lily again, guiding Ethan's stumbling steps, and slung Tom over his shoulder. Ellen, he half carried, her arm draped over his neck. The weight was crushing, but Drifter's resolve was iron. He'd carried men before, soldiers, friends, through worse than this. The stairs groaned under their collective weight, each step a gamble. A beam crashed behind them, sparks flying. Drifter pressed forward, his breath ragged, the children's fear a silent pulse in his arms. At the bottom, the kitchen was a wall of flame, but the back door was close. He kicked it open, fresh air flooding in, a lifeline. Outside, he set the family on the grass, far from the house. Lily clung to him, Ethan coughed violently, and the parents stirred, dazed but breathing. Drifter's chest heaved, his face blackened, his hands blistered. He glanced back at the inferno, the house now a skeleton of fire. Sirens wailed in the distance, Fairview was waking. Neighbors emerged, bleary-eyed, gasping at the sight. "Call an ambulance!" Drifter shouted, his voice hoarse but commanding. A woman ran to comply, while others stared, recognizing the man they'd shunned. "That's the bum," someone whispered, disbelief lacing their tone. Drifter ignored them, checking the Carter's vitals, his movements practiced, precise. He tore strips from his jacket, binding Ellen's burned arm, calming Lily with a murmured, "You're safe now." The fire truck arrived, firefighters swarming, paramedics rushing to the family. Drifter stepped back, fading into the crowd, his work done. The townsfolk watched, some with guilt, others with awe. Who was this man, pulling a family from certain death? They'd called him worthless, a leech, yet here he stood, singed and steady, a hero they didn't deserve. Drifter slipped toward the alley, his limp returning, his eyes on the ground. The fire's glow lit his path, but the town's whispers followed. They didn't know his name, his past, or the battles he'd fought long before this night. But they were starting to wonder. The Carters were loaded into ambulances, alive because of him. Fairview's judgment was cracking, but Drifter didn't care. He'd saved them, and that was enough, for now. The morning after the fire, Fairview buzzed with gossip, the Carter house now a charred ruin cordoned off by yellow tape. Drifter was gone, vanished into the alleys like smoke, but his actions lingered, a puzzle the town couldn't solve. At the diner, locals huddled over coffee, their voices a mix of awe and suspicion. "How'd a bum know how to do that?" asked Hank, the hardware store owner, stirring his mug. "Carried 4 people out like it was nothing." Beside him, Clara, the librarian, frowned. "Maybe he's not what we thought." The idea hung heavy, challenging years of scorn. Drifter had been Fairview's scapegoat, a faceless figure to blame for petty thefts or untidy streets. Now, he was their enigma. The Carters were in the hospital, recovering from smoke inhalation and minor burns. Tom, awake but weak, told the nurse. "He came out of nowhere. Saved us." Ellen, holding Lily's hand, added, "He knew what he was doing, like he'd trained for it." The story spread, amplified by neighbors who'd seen Drifter emerge from the blaze, carrying the family to safety. Yet Fairview's prejudice died hard. "Probably started the fire himself," muttered Greg, the barber, at the barber shop. "Looking for attention." Others nodded, clinging to old biases. But cracks were forming. Sarah, the diner's waitress, overheard and snapped. "He risked his life, Greg. What have you done lately?" The room fell quiet, her words a mirror to their shame. Sarah had served Drifter scraps sometimes, slipping him leftovers when the manager wasn't looking. She'd seen his eyes, haunted, kind, and wondered about his silence. Now she felt vindicated, though she didn't know why. The town's children, once his tormentors, were rethinking their cruelty. Ethan Carter, released from the hospital, told his friends, "He carried me out. He wasn't scared." Lily drew a picture of a man in a hood, flames behind him, and taped it to her window. The image, crude but heartfelt, became a quiet symbol. At the fire station, Chief Malone reviewed the scene with his crew. "Whoever he was, he knew fire behavior," he said. "Got them out before the flashover." "That's not luck." The chief, a former Marine, felt a nagging respect, suspecting Drifter wasn't just a drifter. He'd seen men like that, quiet, scarred, carrying burdens others couldn't fathom. Malone wanted answers, but Drifter was nowhere. The alley behind the diner was empty, his tarp folded neatly, as if he'd planned to leave. Fairview's police chief, Donna Hayes, took statements, but no one knew Drifter's name or origins. "He's a ghost," she told the mayor, frustrated. "But he's no criminal." The mayor, eager to spin the story, suggested a public thank you, but Donna shook her head. "He doesn't want it. Man like that doesn't stay for applause." The town's assumptions were unraveling, replaced by questions. Why live like this if he was capable of such courage? What had broken him? Some, like Clara, began to see Drifter's silence as strength, not weakness. Others, like Greg, doubled down, unable to admit error. The local paper ran a front-page story. "Mystery Man Saves Family from Blaze." It included a blurry photo from a neighbor's phone, showing Drifter's silhouette against the fire. Readers flooded the editor with letters, some praising the homeless hero, others demanding his arrest for trespassing. Fairview was split, its heart wrestling with its head. Drifter, unaware of the debate, camped in a ravine outside town, his hands still blistered, his mind replaying the fire. He'd acted on instinct, not for praise, but the weight of being seen pressed on him. He'd hidden for years, blending into shadows to escape memories he couldn't outrun. The Carters' faces, Lily's especially, stayed with him, a reminder of why he'd fought once, long ago. Fairview was waking to his deed, but Drifter wasn't ready to be known. Not yet. The town's respect was stirring, but it would take more than one night to unearth the man beneath the hood. Fairview's curiosity burned brighter than the Carter fire, the town now obsessed with the man they'd ignored. Drifter's absence fueled speculation, his empty alley a shrine of sorts, where kids left candy and notes saying, "Thank you." Clara, the librarian, took it upon herself to dig deeper, combing through records at the library. She found nothing, no missing persons, no vagrancy arrests matching his description. "He's not a ghost," she told Sarah at the diner. "But he's made himself one." Sarah nodded, slipping a sandwich into a bag for Drifter, hoping he'd return. The Carters, now home from the hospital, were vocal about their gratitude. Tom spoke at a town meeting, his voice shaky but clear. "That man saved my family. We owe him everything." Ellen, beside him, added, "He wasn't just strong, he was trained. You could see it in his eyes." The crowd murmured, some nodding, others skeptical. Greg, still stubborn, muttered, "Trained for what? Trouble?" But his voice was drowned by applause. The Carters launched a search, posting flyers with the blurry photo. "Help us find our hero." The effort spread, with volunteers scouring alleys and woods. Chief Malone joined, driven by his marine instincts. He noticed Drifter's limp, the way he carried himself, shoulders square, eyes scanning. "He's military," Malone told Donna. "I'd bet my pension." Donna, skeptical but intrigued, checked veteran databases, but without a name, it was futile. The town's mood shifted, guilt replacing disdain for many. Sarah organized a donation drive for the homeless, shaming those who'd thrown stones. "He's one of us," she said, "whether you like it or not." The drive raised enough for a shelter fund, though Drifter remained elusive. Kids, inspired by Lily's drawing, made more, taping them to lampposts. Ethan, now a local celebrity, told reporters. He wasn't afraid. He just did it. The story hit national news, the homeless hero angle irresistible. A TV crew arrived, filming the burned house and interviewing townsfolk. Clara, on camera, said, "We judged him without knowing him. That's our shame." Her words stung Fairview, forcing introspection. Even Greg softened, admitting, "Maybe I was wrong." Drifter, hidden in the ravine, saw the news on a stolen glance at a gas station TV. His heart sank. Attention was the last thing he wanted. He'd chosen this life, Allie's silence, to escape a past that clawed at him. The fire had forced him out of the shadows, and now Fairview was hunting him, not with malice but with gratitude. He wasn't ready to face them, to explain the scars, the nightmares, the medals he'd buried. He packed his few belongings, a knife, a journal, a worn photo, and moved deeper into the woods. The journal, filled with terse entries, held his truth, dates, places, names of men he'd lost. He wrote that night, Maple Street fire. Carter's safe. Should have stayed hidden. Fairview's search grew desperate. A teenager, Mia, spotted him near the creek, his hood up, limping. She called out, but he vanished into the trees. Her story spread, fueling hope. Malone organized a search party, focusing on the woods. "He's not running from us," he told the group. "He's running from something else." The chief's words resonated, hinting at a deeper story. Clara, meanwhile, found a clue, a 1980s article about a Gulf War veteran who disappeared after receiving a Silver Star. No photo, no name, but the description matched: limp, quiet, haunted. She kept it quiet, unsure but hopeful. The town's transformation was palpable. The mayor, once dismissive, proposed a Heroes' Day for Drifter, whether he showed or not. Sarah hung Lily's drawing in the diner, a beacon for his return. Fairview was learning, slowly, painfully, that worth wasn't tied to wealth or status. Drifter, in his solitude, felt the shift, though he didn't trust it. He'd saved the Carters because it was right, not for redemption. But the town's awakening was pulling him back, whether he liked it or not. The truth was closer than ever, waiting to break free. Drifter's world was shrinking, the woods no longer a sanctuary as Fairview's search closed in. He crouched by a creek, washing soot from his hands, the cold water stinging his blisters. The town's flyers littered the trees, his blurry silhouette staring back, a ghost he couldn't outrun. He'd saved the Carters, but at what cost? His anonymity, his shield, was crumbling. The journal in his pack held his secrets, but even it felt heavy now, a burden of names and dates he couldn't erase. Fairview, meanwhile, was alight with purpose. The Carters, now fully recovered, led the charge, their gratitude a wildfire. Tom and Ellen hosted a community meeting, pleading for information. "He's not just a hero," Tom said. "He's a man who deserves a home." Lily, clutching her drawing, added, "He's nice." He wasn't scared. The room erupted in applause, even Greg joining, his skepticism worn thin. Clara shared her Gulf War lead cautiously, with Malone. "It's a long shot," she admitted. "But the limp, the age, it fits." Malone, energized, contacted a VA friend, requesting records of decorated veterans from the 1980s. The search was slow, but a name emerged: John Kessler, Silver Star recipient, last seen in Ohio, 1985. No photo, but the details aligned. Malone kept it quiet, knowing Drifter, John, would bolt if cornered. The town's efforts intensified. Sarah's shelter fund grew, and volunteers patrolled the woods, leaving food and notes. "You're welcome here." Mia, the teenager who'd spotted him, joined the search, her guilt over past taunts driving her. She found a campfire's remains, a torn page from a journal nearby. The writing was sparse. Fire reminded me of Basra. Had to act. Mia gave it to Clara, who gasped. Basra meant Gulf War. They were close. Drifter, sensing the net tightening, considered leaving Fairview for good. He'd done it before, new towns, new shadows. But something held him, Lily's face, Ethan's trust, the Carters' survival. He'd saved them, and that tethered him, a thread he couldn't cut. His journal entry that night was raw. They're looking. Don't want their pity. Just want peace. The woods were cold, his tarp thin, but he stayed, torn between flight and facing the town. Fairview's transformation deepened. The mayor's Heroes' Day gained traction, set for next week, with or without Drifter. The diner became a hub, Sarah serving free coffee to searchers. He's not homeless, she insisted. He's choosing this, and we need to know why. Her words sparked debates. Why would a hero live like this? Clara, piecing it together, theorized trauma, a veteran's burden. Malone agreed, his VA contact narrowing the search to Kessler. A record surfaced. Kessler, a medic, saved a squad under fire, then vanished after discharge, haunted by survivors' guilt. The town wasn't ready for the full truth, but they were learning empathy. A breakthrough came when Ethan, biking near the ravine, saw Drifter gathering wood. "Mister!" he called, unafraid. Drifter froze, his hood hiding his face. "You saved us," Ethan said. "Why were you hiding?" Drifter's voice was low, pained. "Not hiding, kid. Just staying out of the way." Ethan ran back, telling his parents, who alerted Malone. The chief approached alone, respecting Drifter's space. "I'm not here to drag you in," Malone said, finding him by the creek. "But the Carters need to thank you. So does Fairview." Drifter shook his head. "Don't need thanks. Just did what was right." Malone saw the limp, the scars, the weight in his eyes. "You're military, aren't you?" Drifter didn't answer, but his silence spoke. Malone left a card. "When you're ready." Fairview waited, its heart open but uncertain. Drifter stared at the card, the journal open beside him. He wrote, "They know too much. Can't run forever." The town's respect was building, but he wasn't ready to claim it. The fire had exposed him, and the truth was clawing free. One more push, and Drifter would have to face Fairview, and himself. Drifter stood at the edge of Fairview, the town's lights flickering like stars against the dusk. The woods had kept him safe, but Malone's card burned in his pocket, a challenge he couldn't ignore. He'd saved the Carters, stirred a town, and now they wanted him, not as a pariah, but a savior. His journal, tucked in his pack, held the weight of his past, but tonight, he felt a pull to step forward. Fairview was planning its Heroes' Day. Banners strung across Main Street, Lily's drawing reproduced on posters. The Carters were relentless, their gratitude a beacon. Drifter, John Kessler, though he hadn't claimed that name in years, knew he couldn't hide forever. He limped into town, hood up, drawn to the diner. Sarah saw him first, her gasp silencing the room. "You're back," she whispered, sliding a coffee across the counter. Drifter nodded, his eyes avoiding hers. "Just passing," he mumbled, but he stayed, the warmth of the diner a stark contrast to the ravine. Word spread fast. Clara arrived, clutching her Gulf War article, her voice gentle. "We've been looking for you. The Carters want to see you." Drifter's jaw tightened, but he didn't flee. Malone entered, his Marine bearing unmistakable. "John Kessler?" he asked softly. Drifter flinched, the name a wound. "Not him anymore," he said, but his voice cracked, betraying truth. The diner filled, townsfolk gathering, not with judgment but all. Tom Carter pushed through, Ellen and the kids behind. "You saved us," Tom said, tears in his eyes. Lily ran forward, hugging Drifter's leg. "You're my hero," she said. Drifter froze, his hand trembling as he touched her hair. Ethan handed him a new drawing, a man in a hood with a silver star. "We know," Ethan said. Drifter's walls crumbled. He sat, the crowd hushed, and spoke, his voice rough. "I was a medic. Gulf War. Saved some, lost more. Couldn't face it after. The room listened, absorbing his pain. Clara stepped forward, holding the article. John Kessler, Silver Star for Basra. You disappeared, but you're here. Drifter, John nodded, the truth spilling free. Didn't want to be found. Thought I was done. Fairview saw him now, not as a bum, but a man broken by service, choosing shadows over spotlight. The mayor, present, offered a key to a small apartment, part of Sarah's shelter fund. It's yours, he said. John hesitated, then took it, moved by their sincerity. The town's transformation was complete, their prejudice replaced by respect. Greg, once the loudest critic, approached, head bowed. I was wrong. I'm sorry. John waved it off, but the gesture meant something. The Heroes' Day arrived, a quiet event in the park. John attended, clean-shaven, in a donated jacket, no longer drifter. The Carter stood beside him, Lily holding his hand. Malone presented a plaque, not for the fire, but for his service, his sacrifice. You're one of us, John, he said. The crowd cheered, not loudly, but with reverence. John's journal, now in the apartment, gained a new entry, Fairview, 2015. Found again. Maybe it's enough. The town rebuilt, not just the Carter house, but its soul. Sarah's shelter opened, named Kessler House. Kids stopped throwing stones, learning from Lily's courage. Clara wrote a book, The Man We Didn't See, donating proceeds to veterans. John worked odd jobs, his limp a badge, his silence now a choice, not a shield. Fairview's respect was hard-won, but real. He visited the Carters often, Ethan teaching him to draw, Lily calling him Uncle John. The fire had burned away his anonymity, but it lit a path home. The town saw him, veteran, hero, man, and that was enough. John Kessler walked Main Street, no hood, no shadows, just a man with a limp and a past he no longer hid. Fairview had changed, its streets softer, its people kinder, because of him. The Carter fire was a year ago, but its embers still warmed the town, a reminder of what lay beneath assumptions. John's apartment in Kessler House was sparse, a bed, a chair, his journal, but it was home, the first in decades. He'd been drifter, a ghost, until the flames forced him into the light. Now he was John, and Fairview knew his story. The town's respect was tangible, woven into daily life. Sarah greeted him with coffee, refusing his money. Heroes drink free, she'd say, her smile genuine. Clara's book was a local hit, its pages detailing John's Gulf War heroics and his years of wandering. Readers left copies at the diner, inscribed with thanks. Even Greg, once his harshest critic, offered a free haircut, mumbling, "You earned it." John accepted, not for the cut, but for the bridge it built. The Carters were family now, their home rebuilt with community funds. Tom and Ellen invited John weekly, their table a place of laughter. Lily, now 7, drew him constantly, her latest sketch showing him with a medal, not a hood. Ethan, bolder since the fire, asked about Basra, and John shared fragments, saving a squad, losing friends, his voice steady, healing through truth. The boy listened, wide-eyed, learning what courage cost. Fairview's Heroes' Day became annual, a quiet tribute to all veterans, John its reluctant heart. He spoke at the second event, brief but clear. "I didn't want to be seen. You saw me anyway. Thank you." The applause was warm, not for show, but for understanding. Malone, his friend now, shared beers at the VFW, swapping stories of service. "You're why I stayed in," Malone admitted. "Men like you." John's journal grew, its entries longer, less guarded. Fairview, 2016. Lily laughed today. "Ethan wants to be a medic. I'm not running." He worked at the shelter, fixing pipes, teaching kids to whittle, his hands steady despite scars. The VA connected him with counseling, easing nightmares he'd carried alone. His Silver Star, retrieved from a storage locker, sat on a shelf, not hidden but not flaunted. It was part of him, like the limp, the memories. The town's transformation endured. Kessler House expanded, helping dozens, its walls hung with Lily's art. Sarah led outreach, ensuring no one was overlooked. Clara's research uncovered other lost veterans, reuniting some with families. The paper ran stories on local heroes, inspired by John's emergence. Fairview wasn't perfect, prejudice lingered in corners, but it tried, and that mattered. John visited the Carters' new house, its scars gone, like his own. One night, Lily asked, "Why'd you save us?" John paused, then said, "Because I couldn't save everyone before. Had to try for you." She hugged him, her trust a bomb. Ethan, nearby, added, "You're not homeless. You're home." The words hit hard, truth John hadn't dared believe. The fire had been his crucible, burning away Drifter to reveal John Kessler, medic, veteran, hero. Fairview's respect wasn't just for the rescue, but for his survival, his choice to keep going despite pain. He wasn't a saint, he was a man, and they loved him for it. At the VFW, Malone raised a glass. "To John, who showed us what honor looks like." The room toasted, veterans and civilians alike. John nodded, his eyes misty but clear. His journal's final entry read, "Fairview, 2016. Saved them. Saved me. Enough." The town walked on, its heart open, its eyes wiser. John walked too, no longer a shadow, but a man reclaimed, his past a strength, his future a gift. Fairview saw him, veteran, neighbor, friend, and that was everything.